Hi, welcome to the Roxbury International Film Festival Daily Script Reads. Today we have something by Mike. Mike, you can introduce yourself and the name of the piece.
Hello, my name is Mike Leba. I am a co-executive director at City Life Vida Urbana. We work around housing justice in Boston and around Boston. And I'm one of the co-writers along with Rise Home Stories Project of mine. So I'm so glad to have you all here. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. And we'll see you later. John?
Hello, everyone. My name's John Brownlie, and I'll be playing Evan.
Great. Daren?
Hello, my name is Daren, and I'll be playing Blaze.
Wonderful. Judith?
Good morning. I am Judith Nelson Dilday, and I play Drummond.
Wonderful. Anjie?
Hi, my name is Anjie Parker, and I'll be playing Mia.
And Gilda and Chris?
Hi, I'm Gilda James, and I'll be playing Castle, matriarch.
And I'm Chris James. I'll be playing Eustace, and we're both SAG-AFTRA.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And Trinidad?
Hi, my name is Trinidad Tamkissoon. I'll be playing the narrator in Castle Patriarch. Mine, episode 2, Once in a Blue Moon, written by Rise Home Stories Project. Exterior, Blaze and Mia's home, dawn. As dawn begins to break, Blaze approaches their home, wet from the events at the restricted area. They appear tired and rattled, but unhurt. A few townspeople are beginning their day. Blaze sees them going about their morning routine through windows and outside their homes. Some waves from a distance. Things seem normal. Nobody seems to notice the trail of wet footprints that Blaze leaves behind. Interior, Blaze and Mia's home, day. Blaze enters and sees that the place has been turned upside down. Someone has been looking for something. Blaze heads upstairs too. Interior, Mia's bedroom, continuous. Mia's bedroom is in a disarray as she is frantically seeming to search for something under her bed. She looks up angrily as Blaze lingers sheepishly in the doorway.
Look what the cat dragged in. You know this is not a game, right? Did you take it?
Who knew these weren't waterproof? Someone should really get on designing a new kind of scarf.
What were you thinking? Are you actually trying to ruin my life?
Sis, you don't understand.
Don't sis me. I trusted you, and you lied and stole from me, and now I'll probably be sanctioned by the other elders.
Someone, an elder, was tampering with the water.
What are you saying? That's impossible, and you know it.
I saw it with my own eyes.
You see what you want to see. Always have.
Come on, Mia, I didn't make this up. I saw them siphoning water and I saw their elder's scarf.
Well, apparently, anyone can get their hands on those.
Look, I know you're angry, but we have to figure out who did this, and you're the only one I can trust.
Yeah, well, the feeling is not mutual. You know I have to report this, right?
Just give me a couple days to figure this out, please.
I swore an oath as elder to uphold truth and justice for the good of all Bavodians. How could I look anyone in the eye ever again if I lied for you? No. We're going to confess and face the consequences.
Fine. You do what you gotta do. I'm gonna look for answers and save our water.
Interior, Drummond's classroom, day. The space is more than a classroom. It's a science imaginarium. Every tool, wiring, mechanical, doodad, diorama present is meant and to inspire scientific learning. Drummond is in her element, working with a small group of enthusiastic middle school students. They are looking at a miniature scale model of the restricted water area.
As you can see, The water distribution system is quite complex. It's a feat of engineering, actually, not to toot my own horn.
Blaze quietly slips in, nods at Drummond, who smiles, acknowledging their presence. As Drummond talks to the students, Blaze eyes her elder scarf, wondering if she was the elder they saw last night.
And we actually have a special guest today, our brand new water bearer.
The students murmur curiously as Blaze approaches a long bare table with a small funnel attached. Blaze grabs a water bottle, pours water into the funnel, and the table rises and opens, revealing Blaze's personal lab station. Blaze, in their element, pours more water into the funnel, and a dozen large light bulbs rise from the table. Blaze picks up one of the light bulbs and holds it in their hand.
Everybody come up, grab a light bulb, and go back to their seats.
The students do as they're told and wait in anxious anticipation of what is going to happen next.
We know water creates and conducts energy, but it's important to understand that each and every human being does the same.
Blaze hands a light bulb to Drummond. Drummond approaches Blaze's lab station, and when she touches, her light bulb lights up. Blaze shuts off the lights in the classroom, and the only illumination comes from the light Drummond holds.
Each of us has the energy to light up a town like Bovota and then some.
Blaze slides up to Drummond, holds her hand, and the teens' light bulbs light up as well.
Hold hands, everybody.
The students all hold hands while holding their light bulbs.
Imagine what we could do if we were all connected.
Blaze holds the hand of one of the students closest to them, and every light bulb held by someone in the classroom lights up.
That's why everyone contributes, everyone benefits is so important.
Blaze breaks away from Drummond and the students whose hands they were holding and turns on the lights. Drummond places her light bulb back into the socket on Blaze's lab table.
I know you've been studying energy and electricity. Right now, you're going to break into groups of 3 and replicate what just happened here. Understand?
Yes!
Any questions?
Suddenly, we hear the sound of a hydro generator.
Don't
Shut
worry.
down, and all the power goes off in the lab, leaving the classroom in darkness and silence. The students murmur.
Don't worry now. We just have to wait until the building's hydro generator rights itself.
You know it's not a hydro generator problem, right? I can go outside and try to fix it, but I need...
As quickly as it shuts down, the hydro generator kicks in and the lights in the room flicker back on.
As I was saying before, any questions?
Why did the water break the water yesterday?
The water is definitely not broken. It was just a small once in a blue moon glitch.
And we're gonna fix that issue quicker than you can say, Blue Moon. Well, now let's get to work. As you're figuring this out, you can listen to Pedro.
Blaze turns on a radio on Drummond's desk, which plays some Afro-Cuban jazz as the students get to work. Noticing there's something wrong with Blaze, Drummond signals to Blaze to go with her to the other side of the room, out of their earshot.
You look like you've seen a ghost. What's going on?
If I wanted to manipulate the water source, how would I do that?
You wouldn't do that because that would be an incredible violation. Also, it's impossible.
How did you sleep last night?
Just fine. What's this?
I know you like to take late night walks sometimes to clear your head, as you put it.
Okay, I really need you to tell me what's going on here, Blaze. You do not seem like yourself. I know yesterday was stressful, but
No, I wasn't able to sleep last night and I took a late night walk. I walked past the restricted water area, saw an elder and thought it might be you.
Blaze points to the model and is about to speak, but is interrupted by a knock at the door. It's Eustace, standing there with his hands in front of him, all forced smiles.
Is Blaze here? I need to speak to them.
yes, come in. We were just talking about what happened with water yesterday.
Which is exactly why I'm here. I need you to come with me to the Council of Elders. We need to talk about what happened during the ritual yesterday.
We? Why wasn't I made aware of this?
It was decided at the last minute. We didn't want to interrupt your class. We can all head that way together.
Everyone, we're going to end class a little early today. We'll pick up where we left off tomorrow. Class dismissed.
The students groan as they gather their materials, return the light bulbs to Blaze's lab station, and file out. As Eustace escorts Blaze out of the room, they look over their shoulder to see Drummond burying a shiny object in the bottom of the drawer and locking it. The suspicion returns to Blaze's face. Exterior, Vavoda Day. Drummond and Eustace flank Blaze on the walk to the Elder Hall. Outside, a few small groups of residents are gathered. They are whispering and pointing at Blaze. Vavodians with bloodshot eyes peek out from behind curtains with accusatory looks. The community seems different from earlier today.
What's happening to the people, Eustace? Are they sick?
It's nothing.
Interior, Elder Hall, waiting room, day. Eustace and Blaze enter together and see another youth waiting in the lobby. Evan Price, 16. While Evan is cherubic and soft, his eyes have a churlish quality.
I'll be right back.
Is this your first time?
Yeah, you?
Been here a few times.
Is it bad? I've always heard stories in elementary school about how there's some big cell underneath the Elder Council Hall. What was that called?
It began with a G.
The gong? No, the grace?
The grill. Once you get in, you're not getting out.
They wrap kids as if they're about to put you in a tomb and you're frozen in there for hours, like torture.
Nah, my friend, it's nothing like that.
Interior, Elder Hall, Justice Center, day.
Blaze, come with me. You will be with you shortly. Perhaps in the meantime, you can meditate on the impact of your actions.
As Blaze walks into the main room, Mia holds up a finger, signaling Blaze to wait while Eustace talks to a few members of the Castle family.
But Elder Eustace, everyone in the family was told that we're entering. We're given permission before we made the sojourn to vote.
I completely understand your concern, but things have changed since yesterday. We have neither the resources nor the water.
It's only only 10 more people. They can stay with us and subsist on whatever resource you can spare.
They'll be here in 2 days after traveling 6 weeks. Is it fair to leave them out in the desert?
We'll see what we can do. We have another urgent matter. Let's reconvene tomorrow.
The Castle family remembers pass by Blaze as they leave. Eustace addresses the elder council.
We are at capacity. I move that we suspend immigration until further notice.
We can't leave the Castle family in the desert. They'll die out there without provisions.
Perhaps it will be best to give them food and water so that they can survive in the desert for a few weeks.
Let's table this conversation in the light of our other pressing matters. Blaze, you can enter the circle.
6 chairs are arranged in a circle in the middle of the room. Drummond, Mia, and the other elders are already sitting. All eyes are on Blaze, and Eustace motions them toward a chair.
Please be seated.
Eustace picks up an ornate looking ceremonial stick that has the history of Bevodas etched into it. Eustace taps the stick onto the ground, gathering everyone's attention.
The Reconciliation Circle is about healing and restoration. Using a very intentional process, we come together, we repair, and ultimately we heal ourselves and our community.
Blaze sits down nervously next to Mia, and she refuses to make eye contact. Eustace taps the stick on the ground.
As is the custom of our circle, you may only speak when you have the talking stick.
Why am I here?
Did you not hear what he just said?
You are here because you committed a very serious violation of endangering our most sacred resource by trespassing in the restricted water area.
Well, I wasn't the only one. Someone else, an elder, was in there tampering with the water. What's the penalty for that?
It's disappointing that you'd attempt to deflect blame with outlandish accusations. I thought we taught you better than that.
I wanted to apologize for my siblings' behavior and for my small part in contributing to this violation.
My sister had no part in this. I borrowed the scarf from her while she was sleeping. Please don't punish her.
Restorative justice is not punishment, Blaze. It is a necessary and fair correction, one that you most certainly could benefit from.
The 2 hydro generators make an explosive sound. And as the wind winds down, the lights flicker and then turn off. The elders are startled. How could this possibly happen?
Not to worry, the hydro generator has been a bit finicky today. I'll fix it as soon as we adjourn.
It's not the hydro generator, that's the problem.
We hear the hydro generators sputter back to life, and the lights flicker back on, though not as bright as they once were before they were turned off.
We're wasting time in here while out there the water's contaminated, our machines are breaking down, and our people are acting weird and looking sick.
Drummond raises their hand, and Eustace hands them the stick. He's losing control of this meeting, and he does not like it.
Blaze has a point. We have bigger problems now than this one infraction. I move for us to resolve this now. Mia, as the injured party, Do you have any suggestions as to the appropriate correction?
I think Blaze should continue to be the water bearer because they know the water better than anybody and can help fix it.
Is there something else, Mia?
I should have safeguarded my elder scarf more carefully. It's the most sacred thing I possess. So I should participate in the correction. I can supervise Blaze as water bearer for the next few months and make sure that they don't get into any more trouble.
I don't think.
I, for one, support Mia's vision of restorative justice in this matter. All in favor, please raise your hands.
She, Mia, and the older elders raise their hands, except for Eustace, who looks extremely peeved. He waves for the stick and Drummond hands it to him.
Given the serious nature of this infraction, I would like to add suspension to all lab privileges. And any access to the restricted water area must be supervised by an elder at all times. Any objections?
Wonderful. So this meeting is adjourned and we can get back to the business of caring for our water. I did sense you were trying to ask me something earlier, but do you really believe that I would tamper with the water?
No, I know what I saw.
Well, you should probably skedaddle before Eustace tries to have you exiled. I'll meet you at the lab this afternoon, okay?
Interior, Elder Hall, basement kitchen, day. Mia is huddled at the corner, visibly shaken and crying. The doors swing open and Blaze peers in. Mia tries unsuccessfully to hide her tears.
Sis, are you okay?
I'm not okay. That was humiliating.
I'm sorry I put you through that, but this is bigger than us. I have to get down to the bottom of whatever's going on.
No, no more, no more. It's not about you or what you're gonna do, Blaze. It's gotta stop being all about you. You have to stop that right now, right now. Get away from me.
Mia, I'm sorry. What?
Blaze moves again to try to comfort Mia. Mia looks at them, and Blaze is shocked to see that she has bloodshot eyes. Blaze backs away from her, afraid that she is going to do something that might cause harm to herself or harm to them. End of episode.
Yay, I'd like to welcome all the actors back on stage, the Zoom stage. Wonderful. Actors and our writer. Yay. Okay. Y'all got to go to another world today. So thanks so much, Mike, for sharing your vision with us. And tell me a little bit about you said a little bit, but it's more about the inspiration for this episode.
Sure. That was brilliant, a brilliant performance by all of you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It was so great to hear these characters and the script take such amazing form, and so I appreciate all of you. Mine started as a collaborative writing process between organizers and storytellers that are working across the country around housing justice. And And this episode is a continuation. It's episode 2. We produced the pilot episode, which we screened at an event in November in coordination with the Roxbury International Film Festival as well. And you know, the theme of this story is really about scarcity and abundance. It's about individualism. It's about collective action, collective solutions. It's about a world where we have chosen to do things differently, and sometimes even in that kind of utopian vision, things go wrong. They go awry, and elements are introduced, remnants of past worlds, past lives, and old ways of being. And so in this particular moment in this story, we've discovered that there's been a problem. We've discovered that some of the remnants of the old world are starting to come into the new. And this new world is trying to grapple with what does that mean and how do we move through that? So this episode is it's an inflection point for the series and a jumping off point for the main struggle in the full script.
Were there any surprises for you in hearing it read, like parts where you said, I hadn't thought of it that way, from the way the actor did it, or man, I'm glad I wrote it that way. That was as perfect. I mean, any kind of surprises at all?
You know, I just love the relationship between Blaze and Mia so much. You know, it was so cool to also see and think about Drummond and Blaze in the laboratory, the Imaginarium, as it's called in this, teaching the young folks, you know, getting people excited about the science, and also, you know, also the spirit that powers the community. And they don't make, you know, that strong of a distinction between the two. They see the two as kind of connected and related. And so it was really cool to kind of see both the relationships between Drummond and Blaze, and Mia and Blaze as well. So.
And so what are your plans or hopes? What's the next step on all of this, on this journey?
Yeah, episode 1, the pilot episode, was produced into a fully animated pilot episode. This is part of a series. We hope to have around 6 scripts likely that are all intended to be short form animation. Or, you know, like shorter episodes, like a 20-minute kind of episode, 15-20-minute episode, animated episodes. And so this is episode number 2. I think the vision is to continue writing, refining the remaining episodes, and hopefully we get this story out there into the world and in front of the folks that we want to see it, to be a part of this world.
Was it at all odd having live action instead of the animation, sort of like what Disney does? You're jumping ahead already and doing the live action version.
You know, it's a reverse Disney. Yeah. Yeah. No, interestingly, when we came up with the concept, the original script and story was live action. It was kind of like what do they call it, scientific fantasy, like where it's rooted in like reality but has some magical elements. And we actually had an in-person, you know, cast, and we had scheduled production, and we had scheduled it for the first week of April of 2020. And so, you know, that was a pretty interesting time, to say the least. We were scheduled to start filming in New Orleans, and there wasn't a whole lot of travel. You know, this team that kind of came together to produce it, the producers were based in New Orleans, and the writers were from all over. So, you know, people were coming in from Detroit and from Boston and from LA, from, you know, all over the place. And so during that moment, we had to make a choice of, you know, do we want to continue this as a live action, or do we want to pivot to animation? And we did a boot camp, and, you know, one of our amazing associate producers, Paige, led us through this, like, what are the different animation styles, and what does a process look like, and how is it different? How is it similar to producing a live action film? And so that's how we ended up deciding to do animation. And now that we have seen it animated, it kind of boggles my mind that we didn't initially start it as that, because it creates so much more possibility and so much more world building.
Wow.
And so So that's, yeah, it was very cool to see it actually, to see human actors too.
Mhm.
Because
It's funny.
otherwise, you know, I hear the disembodied voices of the characters, never the actual people.
It's funny because when you mentioned that when COVID hit, I was working on a Disney thing called Godmothered, and I was actually in costume, everything. And then they called us all in and said, yeah, so we're going to shut down for a little while because of COVID. They thought that they were going to be back. And there were still scenes to be filmed. Like there was a huge scene. It was, you know, one of those magical kind of things. And the person gets what they want, you know, the godmothered stuff, and we were supposed to have these fancy outfits for this big ball. And so I wondered what they were going to do. And because it's Disney, it worked perfectly. What they did was everything was live action, and then they added that last scene in animation. And for a Disney thing on the Disney Channel, that worked, that they went from live action to animation, and that's how the whole thing ended. It was, you know, cartoon in the end. But that was the first time I'd seen that, because I was thinking, how can they possibly finish this? They have to have the ending part, and you know, for them, I guess it's much easier than for you, because they have all the resources to just, okay. But that was another thing. So what's your experiences been like with RoxFilm Festival? I know you had the film in last year, and
I mean, the relationship partnership is just so appreciated, and you know, it gives me so much love to be able to share this with, you know, my community and with my city, and yeah, it's just been a joy to kind of share this. You know, this was my first experience kind of writing something at this level. You know, I've kind of done my own like little creative, you know, write an essay or a poem or whatever, but never something like this. And to do something like this, it's so intensive and such a process that it creates, like, it makes you feel very vulnerable. And so, you know, I have a tendency toward, like, I'll do something and I'll kind of keep it close and keep it guarded, you know? And so to actually have this be a part of the Roxbury Film Festival, it's just like, I'm so joyful to be able to open up and share it, and to have the reception from the community be so positive. So
we're glad to have you. And any of the actors have anything? You can either raise your hand or do the quick raise hand. Same thing with the audience. Anyone have any comments or questions, or want to talk about their experience doing the reading?
We wanted to see the animated version. I guess that was, the pilot was out, it was available. I somehow missed it.
They sent it to us, so it might be in your mail.
But I would be very excited to see that.
I'll send it to you again. Anyone else? Any questions? Do we have anything? So
I was gonna ask, with the title, is that like, did they mine the water, and then is it like a double, is it a double meaning?
That's a great question. It does have multiple meanings. You know, again, the theme of it is around scarcity and abundance, and so mine actually is a word that we decided to use, both because it you know, it kind of like conjures up an actual mine, like a mine shaft kind of thing, but also it's the line, it's the differentiator between what is mine and what is ours, right? And so it's like individual, collective, scarcity, abundance, and you know, not to like give too much away, but you know, I have to say it was a little strange writing this in the time of the pandemic, and like actually even before the pandemic, because we had some theories about how people would respond in the face of crisis. And part of the way that people responded in crisis was to start hoarding things. And then the pandemic happens, and then there was this huge thing around toilet paper. Do you remember that? Where
Yeah.
there was like a huge scarcity of toilet, and people were like, they didn't even need it, but they were going out and buying it. And I remember like even on like, you know, DoorDash or whatever, you could buy a roll of toilet paper from the restaurant because they had a different, you know, it was a whole different thing, whole different world we were in. And so it was kind of strange to see how people responded in that moment. Actually, like the script that we wrote was starting to like manifest almost in real life, which was a little scary and off-putting. But yeah, so the word mine has the, you know, like I said, it conjures up the actual mine. The source of water in the story is you know, it's within a mine shaft, so there is an aspect of that in the cave. It's really beautifully depicted in the animation, actually, in the pilot episode. So I hope you get a chance to check it out if you haven't seen it. And also, it is in the moment of crisis. Our tendency is to say, "This is mine. This is mine. This is mine. This is mine. This is mine," and you guard it. You know?
This is mine, and this is your fault, which you also had, blaming somebody.
Yeah.
We have Lisa Terry says, I would love to work as a writer on this. If you need an assistant, contact me. I'm not gonna like, but she has her information here. The concept of water and life fascinates me. I would love to talk and see the animated version and exploration of how we connect to the material world versus the natural world and each other during crisis. So that's Lisa Terry, and I guess I can give you her, unless you can see it in the Q&A, but otherwise I'll try to give it to you later. So anyone else, any comments?
I just want to say thank you. I really, really had a lot of fun with being Mia. You know, especially like towards that end, like I'm not gonna lie, I'm so excited to find out why her eyes are red. Like I was so stressed, which for me is just so important when I'm like reading in general, that I was just so like after the pilot episode and then seeing episode 2, I was just like, I just want to know what happened so bad.
We're gonna have to wait and see.
Well, that's a big compliment that people are wanting to, you know, get to the next part.
What I'm hearing you say is that it's a very bingeable show.
And where do you want it to be seen?
I mostly, the platform doesn't matter to me as much as the who. You know, for me, the who is our young folks are kind of like Zoomers, kind of millennial people who are like younger, interested in this kind of like animated format. And you know, it also is like worth, you know, it is really rare to see kind of Afrofuturism in animated form, you know, and so like to introduce a younger kind of generation to Afrofuturism, that was a really that was an intentional choice, you know, and so that's who I want to see it, our young folks who are living in our cities, who are interested in all the different great content that's out there, and get to see characters that that reflect them, and also it was also important to include, you know, the relationship between Blaze and Mia. You know, they're siblings. They're also not like, it's not necessarily made clear that they're like actually related, blood related. They're kind of more like chosen siblings.
Oh.
And also, you know, Blaze in the script is a non-binary character. It's that's why they use they pronouns. And so part of the idea was we just wanted to create different kinds of representation in this form of content.
Well, that's great. And somebody's asking when can we see the next part?
That's a great, I mean, maybe we can read the script next year.
Oh yes, that would be great. And then John Degoche said, strong work, love the world building. Sharon says, yes, I love the concept of water. It's huge in Africa, this problem. This problem. And Irene Glassman says, I saw the pilot in the fall. Now, after hearing this reading, I'm officially hooked. Can't wait to see what happens next. Thanks to Mike, Rise Home Stories, and to the RoxFilm Fest and all the actors who brought these characters to life today in a different way. Yay. Me too. Wow. Yes,
I do
Anjie?
have a question about like the writing process, because you were saying that you have writers coming from like different like states and everywhere. How did you guys collaborate to make this like, you know, cohesive story? And like, you know, how did you guys kind of like if things were things that you guys didn't agree with, like how did you collaborate essentially?
Yeah, there's a couple layers to that. The biggest kind of picture is actually we all came together through an initiative called the Rise Home Stories Project. This was kind of produced by JLU Productions, based out of New Orleans, and it was a suite of 5 projects. Mine is one of the 5 projects, and we actually started the creative process identifying what are the narratives out in the world that are most impacting or being the biggest barriers to our organizing work. And so this question of like scarcity versus abundance is something that we don't talk a lot about in our organizing work, but it really impacts our ability to move things, you know. Even during the beginning of the pandemic, like we experienced, you know, there was, if y'all like think back to that moment, there was this kind of, it was terrifying. We were all pretty scared, you know, at least I can speak for myself. I was really scared of like, what does this mean for the world as we knew it? And also there was this kind of like opening to try things differently and to move differently. And so in the face of that pandemic, we had to grapple with the fact that this is a collective problem that requires collective solution. And so it kind of forced us to think things different, about things different. And actually, so that's where the idea or the themes came from. Mine, it was a couple, we had this process where we like brainstormed a whole bunch of different ideas that would address these themes. You know, mine started off as actually a comic book that turned into a live action you know, a film that was turned into this animated web series. And yeah, it's taken, you know, a number of years to kind of, with the team, kind of collaboratively write this. And all of these projects, you know, this is one of them. You know, I also like helped write a children's book called Alejandria Fights Back. You can check all the projects out on Rise Home Stories on the website. I can put it in the chat. But mine, yeah, it's taken a number of different forms, and you know, in this kind of strange time, it actually was a really helpful like place to come back to the world that we're building, the obstacles that we'll overcome or that we'll be faced with, and how we overcome them ultimately.
Well, Sharon says, I peaked at animation. I love the freedom that animation gives. So cool seeing animations. I agree. It gives even more freedom creatively and just so cool. And then Lisa Terry said, during COVID, there was a rush to consume as much as possible and a fear of loss. And the unknown can be scary. That's true. What was also weird to me is, and I gotta say, I didn't see it coming, is that things opened up and it's like people opened up to sort of embrace each other and support each other. And then almost just as quickly, all over the place, things are shutting down. And it's like, the same time people were saying, hey, here's a way to embrace other people and to open up the world, there were other folks obviously saying, okay, how can we shut this down? How can we make the world even smaller? You know, you see what's happening in different states as they close off, and as people are learning about histories and stuff, then they say, okay, so let's make it so they're not allowed to learn history. Make sure the next generation knows nothing about this. Oh, we can't have things like Ruby Bridges in the learning about Ruby Bridges. Like even I didn't see that. I didn't see them developing curriculums on purpose that that don't let you have the information and the book manning and all of that. I mean, I can be cynical, but I did not see the world going the way that it is going now, that people are actually getting together and saying, so how can we suppress more and efficiently and make it the law? So that's why we need things like yours.
Yeah, and we also knew, we knew that in thinking about this new world, it would be the first time that we'd introduce people to some of these ideas. And so the idea of like restorative justice is an idea that the team really, the writing team was really like, this is what the new world looks like. This comes from our politic, our ethos, the way we want to move and who we aspire to be, not around, penalizing and punishing, more about correction and navigating through conflict and not disposing of the person in the process. Like that is something that there's not a lot of examples of that in media. And so we knew that even in this, like in this episode, in the scene, in the Elder Hall, we knew that this was going to be the first exposure to transformative justice kind of politics that many of the viewers would see. And so we wanted to kind of dip our toes in that and explain it and unpack it, and not do it in a way that's like, here's the one pager with the with the bullet points in the process and super prescriptive. Just here's, like I said, here's who we aspire to be on some level.
Well, thank you for helping make the world a better place. And Daren?
Yes, I also wanted to say, I also see the theme of pride in it too. Because I mean, to have pride in, to know that you have something so special of a resource and to take pride in that. But then when the thing that you're taking pride in starts to become faulty, or like you said, isn't exactly your past is coming in. So I see the pride within Mia. I see her handling her elder responsibilities and feeling like, elite, and then I see Eustace and his pride and trying to do everything he can to he doesn't want to accept the fact that it is the water, because then that messes with his whole integrity and that messes with, all that. So once someone kind of breaks into what's making you prideful, that in and of itself is, that's a hard hard pill to swallow. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the story and in the pilot in this episode, they don't hold up these things as like, look at the accomplishments that we did. What the theme more, or what I hear raised more often is is the pride in who we've become. And so Bavoda has become a society which operates in this way. And the characters are in the process of becoming newer versions of themselves, and the pride in that journey and in that transformation, and and the pride of defending it, against the scarcity that comes up, the conflict that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that I really enjoyed to piggyback off of Daren, and to kind of, go back to a point you said about this whole new and old, and how we're going into a new world versus an old world, and to see Eustace, who's almost like a symbolic of the old world, where he's like, we don't have the resources. And then, you have Mia, who is a part of a new world, but also she's in the Elder now, which is an old establishment. So it's well, maybe we can do something, but also just trying to be mindful, and it's just so interesting to see Blaze, who was just pure new, and Drummond, who seems to be also in this new world, but it's just so interesting to see those three characters, representation of just wholeheartedly new, Eustace, who's just the old world, and then Mia, who's like in this weird in between. So it's fun.
We're seeing a lot of that in our politics today. When you look at like Congress, so many things, it's like, well, are we going to go ahead and be progressive? Are we going to be moderate? We definitely don't want to be with the crazy folks, but you know, who knows what's going to happen? And then people are afraid. One of the films they had here was Kenyatta, and he ran for office for Senate in Pennsylvania, and you see how all of that was. And part of the thinking was, well, but yes, he stands for everything we want, and he stands for great things, but we don't know if he'll win. So we're going to vote for this other person who we think might win. And I see that all the time, you know, in elections. I remember even when Obama was running, people would say, well, yeah, but I don't think he can win. I said, no, you have to vote for the person you believe in that represents you. You can't say they're not going to win, and so therefore I won't vote for them. But that's the kind of thing, like, oh, we're not going to do this change because we don't think this is the best thing, but we don't think that's going to happen. So we'll go with the okay thing, or keep the status quo, because that's not as bad as, you know, falling off a cliff. And I think that that's not true. But let me get to these people. Let's see. Irene Glassman said, love Daren's point of view of all the ways of holding that pride and responsibility of stewardship. And Sharon says, it's inspiring for some of us who aspire to write. I am really inspired by this festival. Oh, thank you. And said she agrees with me. And Lisa Terry said, but we also had fighters developing a new vision. That's because I had said that things were going really bad, but they are, but it has inspired people to like sort of come out of the woodwork and become social activists. We've seen a lot of that, and some of it might not have even happened if things hadn't gone so much off a cliff. You know, sometimes when things go really bad, people just say, no, we all got to get out here and do stuff. And so we have a lot of people here that are strong in making the world a better place, like you, Mike. Okay, anyone have anything else they want to say? Okay, well, last daily reads of this season of the festival. Lisa says, Anjie, great acting. I agree that the contrast of old and new worlds is significant in transformation of character development. And thanks for all the beautiful work. And I say the same thing. You guys, tremendous. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone.
You all were amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing your work with us. You've inspired us.